Hello, everyone. My name is Chuck Marshall. I'm from Central Baptist Church in Wayne, Pennsylvania. I'd like to tell you the story of how we've gotten to zero emissions of carbon dioxide at Central Baptist Church. This is a picture of our church down in Wayne, across from the movie theater. We have a fairly typical church building with a sanctuary, education wing, offices, classrooms, and large events hall. We have a separate 3-story missions house, which we include in all the calculations. We have about 200 members. We're not a neighborhood church, but more of a regional church, which affects the driving distances to and from church. We rent out to a nursery school that operates 5 days a week from September to June. We have air conditioning in our events hall, our kitchen and offices, but not the sanctuary. And we do not own any vehicles. We have an ecology mission group that's been active for 30 years. We have a worship service every year. We did an energy audit in 2003, which we looked at a lot then, but we don't look at it too much now. Climate change prevention has been a goal since about 18 years ago. And we started with the encouragement of people to buy wind energy for their residences. Our first attempts at energy conservation were more aimed at saving money, and that was the first phase of our Getting to Zero program. Creation care theology has emerged, and which covers the fact that we think that climate change is real and human-induced, and that everything in our environment is connected. There were 2 phases to our energy conservation and climate program. The first took about 10 years, and the second took about 7 years. The first program concentrated mostly on heating, ventilation, air conditioning, lighting, and operations. And then our second phase has concentrated more on the emissions generated by our vehicles going to and from the church. We achieved zero in 2015, but we do have to do something every year to stay at zero, and I'll talk about that more later. We did an emission inventory, which calculates that we generate from the operations of the church building about 44,000 pounds per year of CO2. We have installed a new boiler, which is about 93% efficient. We have 7 heating zones with programmable thermostats. We started out having fluorescent lights with T12 ballast, and we moved over to T8 ballast. We have 48 solar panels on our education wing roof. We've published a waste recycling, reuse, and management guide for 22 categories of waste from our church. We do buy green solvents and cleaners. They can be a big source of emissions at the church. And we purchase wind for our main building and our mission house. And we held an energy audit party a few years ago. For the energy audit party, we recruited a volunteer family to have a free audit done at their home by Orange Solution. The audit was done on a Thursday. We had the party Sunday afternoon after worship, and the audit results were presented. And we went on a tour of the house in 3 groups. And then afterwards, someone got a raffle for a free audit, and others signed up to have audits done at their homes, although that was not a requirement for attending the party. This is a picture of some of the 48 solar panels that we have on the roof. Those are still functioning very well. They were installed in 2008 and started operating in May of 2009. We have another program that reduced a lot of emissions. We call it Bright Idea, where we give out 600 bulbs, LED bulbs, to two centers. One's the Bernardine Center in Chester, and the other is the Phoenixville area Community Services. And they, in turn, give those 600 bulbs to their clientele. And they've, early on, they calculated how much emissions reduction comes from that, and it was about 74,000 pounds per year. This is a calculator developed by the Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light. The offsets that we have for the building consist of the buying of wind energy of 35,000 pounds, and then the Bright Idea program, 74,000 pounds. So we offset our emissions by about 2.5 times. Then we started taking a look at vehicle emissions going back and forth from church, and these turned out to be about 65,000 pounds per year, which, if you recall, our building emissions were 44,000. So there's 48% more CO2 emissions coming from travel than from our actual building operation. We asked the congregation to do an emission inventory of their vehicles so that we could calculate the total emissions, and we had to ask them about miles per gallon and distance to and from church. Then we started promoting incentives for people to reduce the number of trips by fewer trips being made to church, or having a more efficient vehicle, or having carpools. And then we also provided some options for them to reduce their emissions, such as LED lights, wind energy purchases, and buying trees to be planted. We gave them a chart to use to try to make it easy. So, for example, if their vehicle emitted 600 pounds per year, they could look across that chart and see that they could, if they bought 429 kilowatt hours a year of wind electricity, they could offset the emissions from their vehicle for going to and from church, or if they bought 4 LED lights, or if they bought 3 trees. This is how we sell LED lights at a fair trade table at our church. And to stay at zero, for example, last year we needed to control 20 tons of CO2, and we also had to offset, or chose to offset, emissions from people taking a trip to Kenya, to one of the groups that we are a partner with. And we will continue the Bright Idea program, and we'll conduct outreach and learn about other programs. We buy our trees to be planted from Trees Water People in Fort Collins, Colorado. And the cost per year for running our programs used to be about $1,800. It's somewhat less than that now, as the cost of wind energy comes down.